Today on the CTV News at 5, why pharmacies across the city and the province will be closing their doors on Thursday in protest. Plus, a former Medicine Hat man makes his appeal for a new trial after being convicted of killing his wife. And
So what my project looked at is right now there's a method of cancer treatment where you get gold nanoparticles to accumulate at the site of the cancer.
how a 16-year-old Calgary teen wants to smash cancer with nanobullets.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. 14 Lethbridge and area pharmacies will be closing for an hour on Thursday, protesting provincial cuts that they say will impact health services here in Alberta. Pharmacists will be protesting in cities and towns right across Alberta on April the 11th. They're concerned a decision to reduce the price of generic drugs will impact services and then force Albertans to pay out of their own pocket. Terry Boat reports.
Pharmacists say the province's plan to reduce the price of generic drugs will not only hurt their bottom line, but also cost Albertans more money out of their own pockets. They suggest it will also impact service and in some cases may lead to a shortage of certain kinds of drugs.
We've already seen medications become unavailable for us to give to our patients. We've been battling drug shortages for the past 4 years, and the government saying to the generic companies you can only charge this much may result in more drug shortages.
The list of drugs being removed from pharmacy shelves because they no longer meet price policy requirements has now grown to 4 pages. One pharmacist tells me it's starting to feel as if he's working in an underdeveloped country. That paints a gloomy picture for this group of seniors at the Lethbridge Watercolor Club.
Well, in this city in particular, there are a great number of seniors, and most of us have prescriptions of some sort.
No, I'm scared because I need these drugs, you know.
If the government had not mismanaged the money that has come into this province, we would be in one hell of a lot better shape than we are now. And they would not have to have any cutbacks of anything, period.
It's not going to save patients money, it's going to save the government money.
Pharmacists say the government's plan will mean patients may have to start paying for some services that are now being provided free. They're proposing the province save money by working more closely with patients, controlling and managing illnesses better, not by reducing services and cutting access to the drugs people need. Terry Boat, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Again, that's 14 pharmacies in Lethbridge and surrounding communities that will be holding a protest march on Thursday. They're going to start at noon at the chapter's parking lot near the Park Place Mall and then walk to the office of MLA Greg Weddick. There has been a recall of birth control pills in Canada because they contain an extra week of placebos. Drug maker Apotex is pulling one lot of Alisna 28. The boxes may have been packaged with only 2 weeks of tablets instead of 3. Women taking the incorrectly packaged pill would not receive an effective amount of contraception. The pill was sold in British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, and all 4 Atlantic provinces, but not here in Alberta. The city of Medicine Hat is giving residents another reason to butt out. The city has passed a smoke-free outdoor public places bylaw. It bans smoking near playgrounds, pools, parks, and sports fields to keep smoke away from places where kids can be. City streets and parking lots will not be included. Breaking the rules, it'll cost you a $100 ticket. Dory Rossiter, the forecast is continuing to be interesting, and it looks like after tomorrow we could be a little cooler.
Yeah, and the weekend right now, Jackie, is looking to be fraught with precipitation. We're looking at showers on Saturday, periods of snow on Sunday. That's the way the systems are lining up right now. We're watching one that's moving in quite rapidly from the BC coast, and I'll tell you all the details that I have in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. Well, with the climbing temperatures that we're hopefully going to get, unfortunately, we're also seeing an increase in crimes, especially sexual assaults. Jeanette Roche explains what you can do to keep yourself safe.
This looks like any other street in Lethbridge, but for one 30-year-old woman, this was the site of a violent sexual attack. Police say the woman didn't know her attacker. According to Lethbridge police, there were 94 sex crimes reported in 2012. a slight rise from the previous year.
But the sad reality of our world is that women have to look at ways that they can create a safer environment for themselves.
Christine Cassie says although the YWCA offers self-defense workshops for women, there are practices everyone should be familiar with, like simply being aware of your surroundings.
So where you park, where you walk, how you catch the bus.
And using the buddy system.
So certainly, when we're out at night, people knowing what our schedule is, having someone with us when we go to a pub or out to a restaurant.
She also says women need to learn to find their voice.
Practice yelling and screaming.
And be an engaged bystander, a value also taught by the Neighborhood Watch program.
Sometimes it doesn't hurt just to take a drive through the neighborhood and just make sure it's safe.
Brianne Simpson says Lethbridge has about 60 communities involved with Neighborhood Watch, but only a small number of those are active.
Everybody gets sometimes a little bit nervous about joining Neighborhood Watch, but in the end, it just gives them more of a voice. It gives them more confidence that they can call instead of seeing something out of the ordinary and going, well, I don't know if I should step forward, because absolutely you should step forward.
According to Neighborhood Watch, the London Road district where that violent attack happened is a very active community in the Watch program, and police are thanking the help of eyewitnesses and surveillance video for catching the woman's attacker. Jeanette Roche, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Now, police say crime rates drop significantly in areas that are active in the Neighborhood Watch program and that it only takes one active member in your community to make a difference. A former Medicine Hat man convicted of killing his wife in North Carolina has made his plea for a new trial. Brad Cooper was in North Carolina appeals court this morning. Cooper is serving a life sentence for strangling his wife Nancy and then dumping her body in a housing development in 2008. Nearly 100 people testified during the trial that Brad Cooper planned his wife's murder and killed her after she returned home from a neighborhood party. The appeal of his conviction centers on rulings regarding a Google's Maps search on the scene from the Cooper's computer, the only concrete evidence linking him to the crime, and the expert who confirmed it. Decision is expected in the next 3 months. Meanwhile, 2 Lethbridge men charged with murder may go to trial sooner rather than later. The body of 58-year-old George Spann was discovered in his North Side home in mid-January. Police say he'd been stabbed to death. 37-year-old Michael Mitchell and 21-year-old Addison Wakefield are charged with second-degree murder. Today in court, Mitchell and Wakefield's lawyers said that they would be willing to waive a preliminary hearing and go straight to trial. The case was adjourned until April the 17th. And we're learning more today about the delay for a dangerous offender hearing for a convicted child abductor in Cranbrook, BC. Randall Hopley was supposed to have his dangerous offender hearing date set after his psychiatric assessment was complete. However, his defense team has now also asked for an assessment. Hopley abducted little Keenan Hebert from his home in Sparwood in September of 2011. The boy was returned 4 days later unharmed. Hopley was arrested at a nearby Bible camp and insists that he never harmed or otherwise assaulted the boy. He does have a criminal history, though, including a sexual assault on a 5-year-old boy back in 1985. Hopley has been in protective custody ever since his arrest. The case has been set over until June the 17th. And Robert Barnett, the man charged in the Fernie abduction case last year, has now been released on bail. The 39-year-old was charged after an Amber Alert was issued for his 3-year-old son, Alvin. The boy was taken during a supervised visit in Fernie on November 16th of last year. The boy was found with his father the next day in Whitefish, Montana. June 18th is the date set for Barnett's trial by judge and jury, so until then he has been released on a bail of $10,000 and a number of conditions. Barnett has been ordered not to live with his parents. Barnett will also need to advise a bail supervisor of his home. He can't possess or consume drugs or alcohol, and he must surrender his passport to the Cranbrook RCMP. Now, Barnett has been charged with abduction by a parent or guardian. As well, a trial date has been set for one of the men charged in a bizarre incident that saw a pickup truck ram through the wall of the Tabor Tim Hortons. Security cameras caught a stolen oil rig slamming into a truck that crashed into the coffee shop. Back in March of 2012, 26-year-old Heinrich Kron of Sterling was in court today facing charges of obstruction and public mischief. While he has pleaded not guilty, a trial date has now been set for June the 11th. His brother, 27-year-old Jake Kron, is charged with stealing the oil rig. He's also charged with dangerous and impaired driving. The Kids Help Phone prides itself on helping young people in crisis, and now it knows exactly who it's helping. This morning, Kids Help Phone officials released the findings of their latest research. CTV's own Karen Owen was on hand. The findings show that 32% of kids are reaching out from rural and remote communities. About 10% are waiting for some kind of services. The results also indicate the Help Phone really works to assist kids who reach out.
This research has been quantitative. It really proves effectiveness and impact. It says by being involved with us and by the professional counseling support, it's really helped them reduce their distress and be more able to cope.
The live online chats are especially popular with young people. More than 5,000 kids a week reach out to Kids Help Phone. Anti-bullying groups say education and awareness are keys to understanding and accepting those who lead alternative lifestyles. Tyler Shade is one of the local organizers of the International Day of Pink. They've gathered over 300 signatures of support and understanding. On Wednesday, they're encouraging everyone to wear pink to show their support for those who feel lost or are unsure about themselves. Shade says education is the key to understanding other people's struggles.
If they get less support from their families and friends, they actually have a higher degree of depression, suicidal action, rejection from themselves, low self-esteem, self-harm. And if they actually receive more support from their families and friends, it actually improves the likelihood of their own physical and mental health.
A former Lethbridge researcher has received a very prestigious award established for land stewardship and research. We get more inside this week's episode of Farm TV.
Barry Adams is head of the Rangeland Resource Management Program, part of the Alberta Government's Environment and Sustainable Resource Development Department. Barry was the recipient of the 2013 W.R. Chaplin Land Stewardship Award from the Society of Range Management at their convention held in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Barry started working for the provincial government in rangelands as a summer student in 1976.
I became fascinated with the world of ranching, which was something completely foreign to me. And I think what really attracted me to it was here was an industry, a group of people who could live on a piece of land without spoiling it. And I learned after a time that's what we call stewardship.
In the early 1980s, Barry moved to southern Alberta and the Lethbridge Research Centre.
I had the real benefit of working with some of the fellows that we used to call the godfathers of range science, Alex Johnson, Sylvester Smoliak, and John Dormeyer. The whole field of managing reclamation, managing footprint is a really important field now and in the future.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
On to the financial markets, where the Dow added 60 points to close the day at a new record high.